The Phoenix Force is famous for its central role in the Dark Phoenix Saga storyline, and is frequently linked to Jean Grey. In 2009, Jean Grey as the Dark Phoenix was ranked as IGN's 9th greatest comic book villain of all time. Wizard list of top 100 villains ranked the Dark Phoenix as 38th. The Phoenix Force is an immortal and immutable manifestation of the universal force of life and passion. Born of the void between states of being, the Phoenix Force is a child of the universe. It is the nexus of all genetic energy, which does, has, and ever will exist in all realities of the multiverse, the guardian of creation, and of the dangerously powerful Mkryn crystal. The Phoenix is among the most feared beings in all of existence, having the power to cut and regrow any part of the universe, as well as destroy it entirely, which is part of the Phoenix's purpose. The judgment of the Phoenix, to burn away the obsolete. The Phoenix Force is described as being the embodiment of the very passion of creation, the spark that gave life to the universe, the flame that will ultimately consume it. During its time as a sentient and formless mass of energy, it traveled the cosmos, but thousands of years ago, it was contacted by a great mage named Fryn. Fryn was from an alternate Earth and worshipped the legendary Phoenix, and his daydream-like visions prompted the Phoenix to adopt the fiery bird form it has today. He asked the Phoenix to help him by lending its energy to project a lighthouse-like stone pillar across the multiverse. The pillar became the lighthouse base for the British superhero team Excalibur, a team the Phoenix's future host Rachel Summers would join. Afterwards, Necrom attacked Fryn in an attempt to steal the power of the Phoenix. Fryn, strengthened by the Phoenix Force, was able to fight back, but Necrom was able to steal a fraction of the Phoenix Force's essence, forcing it to flee back to space in agonized confusion. During the Stone Age, the Phoenix came to Earth, where it used a primitive female red-haired human to be its avatar. Using the nickname Phoenix, she joined the time period's incarnation of the Avengers. Her only known fight was with an out-of-control celestial called the Fallen. It is believed that during this time she and Odin shared a romantic relationship, which Odin considers as the one time in his life when he truly felt alive. The entity eventually left its avatar, yet thousands of years later landed at some point in the Shire space, where it bonded with a citizen of the Shire Empire, named Rockshire, who controlled the power of the Phoenix Force in conjunction with his blade. He was ultimately overwhelmed by the Phoenix's power and went on a destructive rampage through the Empire, destroying many planets in the process. He was eventually defeated and killed by the Imperial Guard, a team formed for the purpose of stopping Rockshire, which later became the first line of defense of the Shire Empire. The Phoenix fled, leaving a small remnant of itself in the blade, which could only be lifted by Rockshire's descendants. Fearing the power of the Phoenix, the Shire ordered all Rockshire's descendants to be killed or sterilized. Centuries later, the Phoenix Force returned to Earth when it felt the mind of a human transcend the physical realm and resonate with its energy. A young Jean Grey had telepathically linked her mind to her dying friend, Annie Richardson, to keep Annie's soul from moving to the afterlife. In doing so, Jean's mind was being dragged along to the other side with Annie. Phoenix lent its energy to break the connection, and kept close watch on young Jean, because it felt a kinship with the young mutant. Years later, When Jean was dying on a space shuttle, her mind called out for help and the Phoenix Force answered and saved her, transforming Jean into the Phoenix. The Phoenix remained with the X-Men for only a short time. She prevented the complete destruction of the universe by repairing the damaged energy matrix at the core of the Mkryn crystal. During a skirmish with the X-Men's first and most deadly foe, Magneto, Phoenix and Beast were separated from the other X-Men, with each group believing the other to have perished. In Greece, Phoenix met a young and handsome man named Nikos, later revealed to be Mastermind, a mutant with illusionary powers. He began to plant seeds of dissent within Phoenix's fragile psyche by comparing her to a god and insisting she can do whatever she wants. She would later encounter him again in Scotland, under the guise of Jason Wingard, a handsome 18th-century loyalist, believing him to be both the work of the reality-warping mutant Proteus and the lover of one of her ancestors. The rise of Dark Phoenix ended after an encounter with the Hellfire Club and manipulation by Mastermind and the White Queen. The Phoenix was transformed into their Black Queen. She broke free of Mastermind's control, but had been transformed into Dark Phoenix. She battled the X-Men and fled to the stars, devoured the energies of the Boreas star system to satisfy her hunger as Dark Phoenix, annihilating the 5 billion inhabitants of its fourth planet, and destroyed a nearby Shire observatory vessel which opened fire on her before returning to Earth. There, she was defeated in combat by Professor X, and regained control. The group was then teleported to space by the Shire and given a trial by combat. Just as victory seemed certain for the Imperial Guard, she once again became Dark Phoenix, and ultimately committed apparent suicide on Earth's moon before the eyes of a horrified Cyclops. As originally written, the Jean Grey incarnation of the Phoenix was Jean herself, having attained her ultimate potential as a Psi, becoming a being of pure energy and reforming herself as Phoenix, only to become slowly corrupted by the manipulation of such foes as Mastermind and Emma Frost, unable to adapt to her enormous power. Jean was driven mad. In order to return Jean to the full several years later, this storyline was retconned to reveal the existence of the Cosmic Phoenix Force entity, which had created a duplicate body of Jean, believed itself to be Jean and acted in her place while the real Jean lay in a healing cocoon at the bottom of Jamaica Bay, where the Avengers and Fantastic Four would later discover her. This allowed Jean to be revived as a member of X-Factor. The extent to which the duplicate and Jean are separate entities depends on who is writing the character at the time, some instances portraying them as inherently separate, while others demonstrate a shared consciousness. Part of the Phoenix Force encountered a manifestation of death after committing suicide and then returned itself to Jean in the cocoon. Horrified by what it had done, Jean rejected it and it went on to join with Jean's clone, Madeline. Prior, this portion of the Phoenix remained with Madeline until she committed suicide while fighting Jean Grey and then rejoined Jean's consciousness. Rachel Summers ended. Another possessor of the Phoenix Force is Rachel Summers, Scott Summers and Jean Grey's daughter from the Days of Future Past alternate future. The Phoenix Force bonded with Rachel and Rachel became the next avatar of the Phoenix Force. Rachel is one of the longest reigning avatars of the Phoenix, and while she would eventually adopt the uniform, she never became Dark Phoenix. Rachel has been referred by the entity as the one true Phoenix. During an encounter with Galactus, Rachel Summers, at the time completely overtaken by the Phoenix Force, battled Galactus in an effort to save her planet he was preparing to devour. The Phoenix Force disrupted Galactus' feeding process and thus was easily able to defeat the depleted World Devourer in battle. Galactus accused the Phoenix Force of hypocrisy and revealed to it that its existence in a corporeal state was sustained by robbing energy used to birth future generations. Realizing this to be true, the Phoenix vowed to return to its prior existence of touching all that is while allowing an echo of its power to remain with Rachel's now dominant consciousness. Into the Future edit. Returning to Earth with all her memories, Rachel finally managed to get back to the future she had come from. While she could not change her past, she and her teammates were able to change the directives of all the Sentinels of the era to preserve all life, thereby ending the genocide that had prevailed for years. On the way back to our time, however, Captain Britain was lost in the time stream and Rachel was eventually forced to switch places with him, because she really did not belong in our time, anyway. She emerged from the time stream about 1900 years in the future and formed the clan Ascani, which was responsible for bringing her brother Nathan to their time to fight Apocalypse. She later encounters Diamandinero, which was Apocalypse's high counselor and viceroy. She even wanted to overpower him, but was left powerless after shortly being bonded to the Phoenix Force. Phoenix Resurrection edit. Later, as an interdimensional portal transported 4 villains from the 616 Marvel Universe into the Ultraverse dimension, the Phoenix Force was pulled into the Ultraverse as well and was critically damaged, needing a human host to help heal the damage. The Phoenix Force bonded with Prime and soon afterwards with Amber Hunt. Amber was unable to control it. She attacked her friends and would have destroyed the planet, if not for the arrival of the X-Men and new Ultra-hero Foxfire, who after a long battle were able to separate the Phoenix from Amber and send the cosmic entity back to the 616 universe. Jean Grey would begin to manifest Phoenix Firebirds and tap into its cosmic reserves shortly before her death at the hands of Zoran and Song and War Song edit. The Phoenix Force would return to Earth during the mini-series X-Men, Phoenix, and Song, where it resurrected Jean Grey from her grave. It is not long before she remembers what she has come for. Scott Summers, aka Cyclops. She needs to feed from the energy from his optic blasts, and confused by John's emotions thinks she's in love with Scott. She realizes Scott is in love with Emma Frost, former White Queen of the Hellfire Club and head mistress of the Xavier Institute for Higher Learning. Through a number of incidents, including John having Wolverine kill her a number of times, Jean trapping herself in a glacier, the Phoenix Force jumping into Emma Frost, and parts of the X-Men being trapped in a Shire-generated event horizon, Jean Grey managed to assert herself and gain control of the Phoenix Force, with emotional support of all the X-Men. Jean then declares that she and the Phoenix Force are truly one entity now, have transcended into the White Phoenix of the Crown. This is signified by a new white and gold costume. As a result of a Shire attack on the Phoenix Force, the entity is currently in an incomplete state and Jean must now search out the remaining parts of the Phoenix Force. The consequences of this were partially addressed in X-Men Phoenix War Song, in which a small part of the Phoenix Force joined with the Stepford Cuckoos. After nearly losing control to the Phoenix Power, the Stepford Cuckoos developed a secondary mutation, in which their hearts turned to diamond and they were able to imprison the piece of the Phoenix Force. End of Grays. With the failed attack on the Phoenix Force, which ended with Jean Grey escaping their suicide bomb attack and returned to the White Hot Room to restore herself, the Shire still wanted to permanently prevent the ascension of the Phoenix Force, in hopes of eliminating the possibility of a new Omega-level genetic mutant becoming a host for the Phoenix Force. The Shire sent to Earth the Commando Unit, with the purpose to wipe out the Grey genome and kill Quentin Quire. These Death Commandos arrived at Rachel's family reunion site and killed all the members of the Grey family besides Rachel and Cable, who weren't present. Afterward, at the graves of the Grey family, Rachel vowed a terrible vengeance on the Shire and was quoted as saying, "I'm not my mom. I'm not the Phoenix. I'm my own woman. And by the time I'm done, they'll wish I were the Phoenix."